friends, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know who I am, my name is Melissa, and you found yourself at Melissa's Cozy Corner, where we talk about books, baking, and other cozy content. And today is the quintessential cozy video. We are going to be talking about the fall starter pack, or the fall let's fall into fall video, or the fall emergency kit. Whatever you think you will need to get into the fall autumnal season feeling, this is the video. And this is one of the reasons why I got into cozy content, is because of this season. I love this season so much. It's cozy, comfy, a little bit of spooky, absolutely perfect for my heart, and one of the most wonderful seasons to share with other people. So I'm really excited to dive in, because we are going to be talking about movies, activities, books, how to kind of get into the cozy season. And one of my favorite things is getting our cozy spice mix ready for all of the wonderful baking we'll be doing this season. So let's go ahead and jump right in. We're going to start with the basic, the most easiest thing we can do, and that's just actually creating a Pinterest board. Or one of my favorite things to do is going onto Pinterest and looking for a fall bucket list, an autumnal bucket list that shows like different activities you could be doing. This is probably one of the easiest things you can do to kind of get more into the autumnal feels, is by just going online and looking for some amazing things to do. And honestly, bucket lists have the perfect list. I was planning on creating my own this year, but honestly, I found some really amazing ones on Pinterest. I'll post a couple right here, but I'll also go ahead and add them to my board on my Pinterest. So if you want to check them out, you can go there, or just search for your own. Or if you really are feeling it, you can create your own with all the activities you would like to do, to kind of just like encourage you to do some new activities. I think that's one of the biggest things about bucket lists, is they encourage me to do activities that I would love to do but don't always create the time to do. And the bucket list is kind of an encouragement, not a requirement, but just like a little push to be like, hey, you've done these 4 things on your bucket list, why not just do this one as well? So I think this is a great way to kind of implement some fall activities, but also kind of get you more into the autumnal feel. So that's easiest, check mark. Let's get into the fall season. Let's start feeling those fall feels. The next one is starting up our Netflix, starting up our Amazon, or just grabbing our old DVD player to play some of our favorite films or play some of our favorite shows. I have a list of some shows and films I loved watching during this season. I've talked about them already in some of my past videos, so I'm going to try not to mention those ones, but some of them are going to bleed in, of course, because they're the things I watch every year. And of course, if we're starting with shows, everybody knows Gilmore Girls is like the quintessential cozy autumnal show that everybody loves watching during this time. I personally love the first couple seasons the most, so I just generally stick to the first few seasons, watch those over and over again, and I am just in those cozy, comfy, sleepy, hollow happiness feels. So I highly recommend picking up Gilmore Girls. If you haven't seen it, then you are missing out, and it's just a really comfy show with beautiful colors as well. If you're looking to go a little bit more kind of like spooky, mystery-y, I recommend Buffy. It's the show that we'll be watching this year for our autumnal season. I watched Buffy when I was quite young, probably 17, and I really enjoyed it, and I've been wanting to rewatch it for a while now. I think it's a fun show. I do have to say there's some explicities that may not be for everybody, but I think it is a really fun show. Buffy is a great character. Sarah Michelle Gellar, I have her autograph because I loved her so much back then. And all the other characters are just really charismatic. I mean, Willow, I think Willow is just wonderful and beautiful and just a sweetheart. And I do have to say, maybe the later seasons were also not my favorite, but the first few seasons are really great, and the musical episodes are just the best. If you don't know which episode I'm talking about, this episode, if you watch any episodes, or just one episode, this is the episode to watch. If you're more into the horror, spooky side of the fall autumnal season, I recommend watching Haunted on Hill House. This was such a well done show. It's ghosty, it's creepy, it's uncomfortable, but it doesn't have any jump scares, which I thought was really important. I'm not a jump scare type of girl, and I'm not into that kind of horror, but this is just very atmospheric. It's very dark, it's very well done, and I absolutely loved it. One that I watched last year and really enjoyed was the Fall of the House of Usher. This was so well done, so creepy, so mysterious, and it had such an amazing atmosphere. If you don't know Edgar Allan Poe, I highly recommend picking up his short stories or his poems. They're creepy, uncomfortable, spooky, absolutely perfect for the spooky season and perfect for a stormy night. These shows, I do have to say, are more horror, gothic, but they do have a wonderful atmosphere. They fit for the darkness of the autumnal season. They're not cozy, so definitely do not go for these if you're into the cozy mood. Definitely go this direction if you're more into the gothic kind of atmospheric spooky levels. Really well done. Two of my favorite shows and shows that I would definitely rewatch again. On the movie side, I think there's so many amazing movies out there. It's really hard just to pick a few, and I've talked about a lot of these before. So Practical Magic, You've Got Mail, When Harry Met Sally. I just bought When Harry Met Sally and You've Got Mail so that way I can rewatch them this year because it's been a while since I've watched these. But these are your classic, wonderful, perfect films for this season. I also really like watching Casper. I think Casper is such a sweet kids movie that is really wholesome, really cute, and just such a fun movie, and it holds up so well. Another film I've really enjoyed watching is The House with the Clock in the Walls with Jack Black in it. Jack Black is just a fun, charismatic person, and so when we have him as a character in a movie like The Holiday, I think it's just put up a level, and it also has that cozy feel because he generally plays a cozy, fun, charismatic, outgoing type of character. So if he's in a film, I think the film is also just fun, charismatic, and interesting. And it's a fun film to watch. It's a little bit older, but it's really enjoyable and just a great film to sit down and enjoy during the evening on a cozy autumnal night where it's a little chilly. You cozy up with a blanket and you have yourself some popcorn or some pumpkin spice popcorn. Oh, that would be so delightful. So these are some movies and shows I highly recommend just to kind of get more into the autumnal feeling and also enjoy the season throughout the entire season, because it's not just the start that we want to enjoy, it's the full season. We want to make sure we're feeling those autumnal feels every single day. Now for the part that I think a lot of us have been waiting for, it's the books. What books do I recommend during this season? I have a large variety, so we have some classics, we have some cozy, and we have some spooky. I have really been getting into the more spooky mood lately. My heart's just saying, hey Melissa, let's have a little spooky feeling or spooky evening by reading a little bit of a spooky book. So these aren't all going to be cozy. I do apologize, but I think there'll be some really great books in here if you're looking to kind of step out of the cozy genre and pick up something that's going to be a little bit mysterious, a little bit odd, a little bit different. And of course I have my classics. I do also want to say these are going to be books I have read, but I did a TBR list of all the fall books I'm wanting to read this fall. There's 15 of them, so there's quite a few, and that's my last week's video. I went across all the books I want to read this fall. There's going to be cozy, spooky, and in the middle books. There's quite a few on there, and I would love to have some reading buddies, so if you want to pick up some new books, I would love to have you join us on this little reading buddy adventure. But today we're talking about some books I read and some ones I recommend for the getting into the autumnal feels, getting into that fall spirit. And we're going to start with our classics because I think our classics are the easiest because of course they're going to start with those weird atmospheric feelings, and that's going to be our spooky classics first. Dracula and Frankenstein. Dracula is going to be wonderfully odd and mysterious. If you have had any experience with the Dracula novels or movies or retellings, you know we have a very, very old vampire that's a little weird, a little kooky, and he is just trying to manipulate a lot of people into doing some things that aren't so great. And we have our young woman who is bashful and intense and just sucked into this world of vampiric messiness. So we have quite a few characters in Dracula. I recommend reading the classic. It's such a delight. It's actually a quick read, even though it's a classic. I really enjoyed it. We have our vampire and we have our vampire hunters, and That's all you really need to know. We also have Frankenstein. I highly recommend reading Frankenstein. I think it's such a lovely novel, very different, having the same kind of atmosphere as Dracula, but I actually think it's a little bit better done. I do recommend it, and it's just a fun story. It is a little heavy at certain points, just as a warning, but I think you will enjoy it if you're looking for a classic to read. We also have our more cozier classics. So we have Jane Eyre, we have Little Women, and we have any of the Dickens's novels. I think Charles Dickens writes some wonderful classics. Some of them can be quite heavy. Of course, when we go to the classics, we're going to get more novels that are a little bit more in depth, a little bit more picturesque. So instead of having just a paragraph describing our atmosphere, our surroundings, we're gonna have about 15 pages describing one room. I actually think it's really fun to go back and read some of the classics because it's such an amazing contrast to what we're reading currently and to reading these classics that follow a very simple story but are filled with imagery and descriptions and just beautifulness. So if you're not into a spooky classic like Dracula and Frankenstein, then I highly recommend picking up Jane Eyre or Little Women or any of the Dickens's novels, because these are just going to be really amazing classics, and classics fit so perfectly during the autumnal season. They just want to wrap you up and make you sit into a little corner of your sofa with a cozy blanket, a wonderful cup of coffee, and just enjoy a very in-depth story about a very simple topic sometimes. I have a couple other book recommendations. We're going to go ahead and start with the more cozy stuff, and then we're going to lead into the more kind of spooky, gothic, horror type novels. I know you may have jumped in here thinking it was going to be a full cozy video, but lately, like I've said, I've been really into the horror gothic novels, so we're going to toss in a couple of those as well. First, for the cozy, I am going to recommend a manga, and I've recommended this manga in the past, but I really enjoy it, and I think it's absolutely perfect for this season because it's Witch Hat Atelier. Witch Hat Atelier is so soft, so cozy, so happy. It's about a young girl who's just come into some magic. She's learning how to be an apprentice, and she's following along with her like sister witches, and she's learning how to be a powerful witch. She's also trying to save her mother, who's been turned to stone. It's such a sweet series, really easy to read, and absolutely perfect for just a nice little hour on the sofa if you have a little bit of time. Really, really sweet. Another cozy novel is going to be London. I've recommended this book before. I really enjoyed this. I read it for the first time when I was about, I think, 12, 13, 14 years old. I can't actually remember exactly when, but I really loved London then, and I read London last year. That's a hard thing to say, London, multiple times. This is a great, wonderful novel. It's about a young girl who ends up getting pulled into this upside down London world, and she's focused on trying to save the normal London and also London by the smog, the pollution, the nastiness that's happening in the world. And it's just wonderful. It has wonderful imagery. The story is beautiful. We have things that are broken and being repurposed in this London world, and it's honestly just such a sweet novel. It's really easy to read and really, really well done, and perfect for those like uncomfortable autumnal days that are wanting to sit inside or maybe sit outside to enjoy our beautiful, wonderful days and read about smoggy, dirty air pollution. Yeah. And then moving more towards a little bit more creepy, we're going to talk about Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I highly recommend this one. It's actually a children's novel, but I think there's wonderful creepy imagery in here, perfect for adults or young adults. This is going to be one of those books where you pick up, you read, and you're going to be like, whoa, this is uncomfortable, but also fascinating. There's wonderful imagery. All these books have wonderful imagery, actually. And we end up following a young girl who is pulled to another world. Sounds a lot like London, but this little girl is pulled to her other mother, her other father. That's what they're called, other mother, other father, and she is falling in love with the life she could have there. However, there are some consequences and there's some conditions to live in this other land. It's very weird, very creepy, but really, really delightful, and so short. So if you have the chance to read Coraline by Neil Gaiman, I highly recommend it. Perfect for a spooky evening. I have two novels that are a little bit more different. One is actually one I just finished reading. It was part of my TBR. If you watch my TBR video, the book has actually already been read, and that's Smother Moss. Smother Moss is a debut novel by Elisa Alluring. This is a very creepy, uncomfortable novel where you're going to have a hard time understanding what's reality, what's not reality, where the minds of these two sisters and also a mountain collide and become one, or also are individual. It's very hard to explain. It's such a passionate novel about the idea of pain and suffering that we hold inside of us and have it drag us down, and learning how to deal with that pain and suffering, but also having a mountain that is almost like a mother to us. It's very intriguing, very interesting, and if you've liked Bunny, I highly recommend this one. I think you'll like this one if you like the book Bunny by Mona Awad. Another novel I highly recommend is The Book Eaters. This is perfect for anybody who's passionate about reading, but maybe question what would happen if you ate a book. I'm kidding. But the idea behind this novel is about a young woman who's trying to protect her son because her son isn't actually a book eater, so not somebody who would be eating books, which is a separate society from humans. So we have our humans, we have our book eaters, and then we have the people like her son who are actually mind eaters. And so we end up following this woman trying to protect her son because she doesn't want her son to end up in a world where he's being judged in their society and being used for something else. So it's really interesting, really loving, and also very fascinating. So if you're looking for something a little bit more odd, I highly recommend The Book Eaters. I have two other novels that I'm going to, well, one novel and one author. I'm going to recommend Stephen King. If you're looking for just an odd, creepy novel, Stephen King is perfect. I do have to admit, I don't love all of Stephen King's novels. I think some of them are a little overdone, overhyped, but if you're looking for a classic, I think Pet Sematary or Carrie are perfect reads to pick up. These are going to be a little bit odd, a little bit different, but a part of your classics of horror genres. And then the one book that is maybe a little bit out of the box, but I really loved and it pulled my heartstrings and it was a heavy read, is The Book Thief. This is such a beautiful book. It does take place during World War II, and it's about a young girl who ends up stealing books and trying to survive after the World War II bombing started happening. It's really beautiful, and it's so passionate and so intriguing, and it's really eye-opening to certain situations. We're not going to have true stories, but we are going to have that feeling of pain and worry and stress. So this one, if you're looking for a very heavy book for the season, this is going to be a beautiful book to read. It's so well written and it's really, really beautiful. And listening to this little girl daydream and have these stories and have books as almost a protector and books as a passionate push and books as a comfort, I think a lot of us can relate to that, but it's also seeing how a young girl during this terrible, terrible time is coping through books as well. So those are all my book recommendations for this season. There's going to be plenty more. If you're looking again to do some buddy reading, I highly recommend checking out my TBR list. These are going to be books I have not read before, but I highly recommend because I'm going to be reading them and I would love to read them with you as well. So let's go ahead and jump over to some of the other things that I think are perfect for this season, like food. I think food is honestly one of the easiest ways to get more into the autumnal mood by just cooking a little bit heftier. So making your stews, your porridges, your casseroles, anything that's going to have that hefty and warm and comfort feeling, I think is absolutely perfect for the season. I really enjoy making a Guinness beef stew. I think those are one of my favorite stews to make. The Guinness does cook out, but it adds a very in-depth, wonderful flavor to your stew. You can also make this vegetarian by taking the beef out and just adding more vegetables like potatoes and carrots. Potatoes and carrots are absolutely delicious in stews, so I highly recommend it, and I think they would be absolutely perfect for you. If you're going to be moving more into the baking side, by adding pumpkin spice to any of your bakes, it makes it so warm and comforting and cozy. I make my own pumpkin spice mix every year because it's so easy, and it's so easy to be able to just sprinkle a little bit on your maybe buttered toast in the morning, or maybe your overnight oats, or maybe into your oatmeal cookies to add a little bit more of a spice. It's so, so tasty. I really enjoy making oatmeal cookies with a little bit of pumpkin spice. It adds a nice warm feeling to every bite. I also love making carrot cake with a little bit of pumpkin spice. If you missed that video, I did that here. It's so tasty and so warm, and it's so good. So I highly recommend just making your carrot cake, replacing the cinnamon with your pumpkin spice mix, and it absolutely dreams. It dreams. It dreams of a wonderful folly autumnal morning that's just warm and delightful and like holding you in a hug. So baking is one of those things that I think are perfect for the season. I love anything apple, so I've been going to our bio shop. It's kind of like an automatic shop where we can go in and just buy the apples. They're all locked behind like a door. It's really cool, and we can get our fresh apples there every single time we need more apples. I make apple pie, I make apple crumble, I make apple cinnamon rolls. Apples are just wonderful for this type of season. And so if you're looking for anything spicy and delicious, I have a ton of videos with baking that I've made in the past, but we'll be doing quite a bit of baking this year as well. So I hope you're ready, and I hope you're excited, and make sure you make your pumpkin spice mix so that way you have it on you for any time we start baking. Actually, let's go ahead and make some now so that way we can have it together. Okay, we're almost done. We're going to talk about podcasts and music, and I think that's an easy one. Music, I love going to Alex Bird Music, which is an online YouTube platform, but they're also on Spotify as well. They have a wonderful collection of different songs, different playlists. So they have some really great fall playlists that we just have on the background during the day, and we can listen to music all day, and they have a wonderful, wonderful selection of beautiful songs that are very acoustic, very calming, and very, very perfect for when you need some music in the background to read, or if you're looking for just music to have playing while you're cleaning. And of course, we've talked about Gilmore Girls already, but if you go onto Spotify and search for Gilmore Girls, you're going to find a wonderful collection of different Gilmore Girl playlists. I highly recommend listening to one of those. They're going to make your heart just happy by listening to some wonderful songs that are already in a playlist that have been made right for you. So I think those are perfect. And I have one podcast to recommend. This is going to be towards the creepy, gothic, scary side. So this is No Sleep Tonight. I think this is a perfect podcast for when you're trying to get into that spooky mood, but you're not wanting to watch something and you love listening to podcasts or stories. No Sleep Tonight is really, really great. They have a wonderful collection of different stories. Last year they did an Edgar Allan Poe collection, and I really enjoyed listening to that collection. I think it was really fascinating, and they're different stories from different authors, and they're told by some voice actors. It's really nice, very cool, and definitely spooky. So if you don't want to be spooked out, then maybe that's not the direction you should be going. But if you like yourself a spooky story, I highly recommend it. And last but not least, activities. So I think during this season it's really easy to find different activities. For me, during the summer it can get too hot and I don't want to actually be outside all that often because it's just very exhausting for me. But during this season, during the autumnal season, I think it's absolutely perfect to be outside. And there's so many wonderful things you can do out here. Last year I went to Bob's Pumpkin Patch in Washington State, and it's one of my favorite places to go. You can go get your pumpkins, you can go and get pumpkin spice donuts, you can have apple cider. It's honestly the coziest, most wonderful autumnal feel by going to a pumpkin patch. So if you get the chance to go to a pumpkin patch this year, I highly recommend it. Even if you don't have a pumpkin patch in your area, for example, we don't have a pumpkin patch where we live, so there's actually an event that does like pumpkin sculptures. So we're going to be going to that this year. I'm really excited. They have a couple of events as well that they put on, so like carving out large pumpkins or decorating with pumpkins or making sandcastles, but they make pumpkin sculptures with legs and arms and stuff, and so I think it's really fun and really kind of quirky. So we're going to be doing that this year. So if you have any like pumpkin festivals or pumpkin events or just corn mazes, I highly recommend doing that, getting outside, enjoying that wonderful fall autumnal breeze, and enjoying those beautiful colors of the reds and oranges and yellows that we're going to be having coming through on these wonderful trees of ours. So that's level number one, just doing something, an activity that makes you go out and go to a pumpkin festival or a corn maze or anything pumpkin-y, surround it. The next one I really enjoy doing is mushroom hunting. No, I do not pick any mushrooms. I do not eat any mushrooms I find, but I just love going out into the forest. I have myself a little mushroom book where I can match mushrooms to photos or match mushrooms to mushrooms I found, and then I can learn a little bit more about those mushrooms. I think it's really fun. It's really delightful. Again, a great way to enjoy being outside, but also like looking at our earth and looking at our world a little bit different. Mushrooms can be so many different sizes. I love taking pictures of mushrooms. I have a whole collection of mushroom photos that are absolutely obnoxious. I'm popping up some. You've probably seen a couple now because I was just throwing them up, but I really enjoy going out and looking for mushrooms. So I'm definitely going to be doing that this year. I have a little mushroom book and I'll go mushroom hunting and just take more photos of mushrooms. I think that sounds absolutely perfect. We'll be going to a cabin in the woods in a couple weeks as well, and I'm going to be taking my mushroom book to make sure I do a little bit of mushroom hunting there and enjoy a little bit of outside time. One of the easier ways to get more into the autumnal season is by just decorating your apartment. So getting little pumpkin figurines, or this year I'm going to be making some fun little things out of clay. I actually made a little ghosty because I wanted to test it out. So I made a little ghosty that I can put over a fake candle, and he can haunt my table. So I was thinking that we'll make a couple more little pumpkin figurines so we can decorate our apartments a little bit more, but just by adding some small little things around your home to make it a little bit more fall-y, just changing your pillowcases to being more oranges, yellows, and like more of a darker mossy green, I think is absolutely perfect. Kind of like this green. This is the green I'm talking about. So just doing small things like that by bringing in more of those fall colors, I think adds those autumnal feelings into your home so quickly. There were a lot of activities I did last year, so if you're looking for anything else, make sure you check out the playlist because there'll be some really fun things to do and get you ready for the fall season and Halloween season. I always mix the two together, and ghosts end up coming out for the whole season and witchy things come out for the whole season. Witchy things, that's actually a great thing to do. It just made me remember. Last year I made a witch's broom, which was so fun and really cool. So I went out into the woods, found myself a really long stick and a bunch of twigs, and I made myself a witch's broom. I'll post the video right here. I made a little short so it'll play right there. But this was so fun. I had a blast. I did this in October. You could do it really any time of year, but it's just a great way to like have fun and then also have a really cool decoration in your home. And it was probably the most fun I've had making a decoration for home. So I highly recommend doing this. It was such an out of the ordinary thing too, and it's so fun to play with. And I took some really fun photos with my witch's broom as well. It was so fun. It was really delightful. And if you have like a group of friends that you could do this with, it'd be so cute to have like group photos with your witch's brooms out in the woods. That'd be so cute. I would love to see those photos if you do them. And there's two other little small things, two little things that are really quick to do. You can grab yourself some wonderful scented candles that smell of those fall seasons. I have my classic of pumpkins toffee. I've talked about this candle a bunch. You don't need to hear about more, but it smells like heavenly autumnal feels and pumpkin spice lattes, which grab yourself an autumnal cup and just enjoy the season. One of the best ways to enjoy the autumnal season is just by being in the moment of those feelings. So when you have that cold breeze that comes through and pulls the smells of the fall around you, just really sitting in that moment and enjoying it. Or going to a pumpkin festival and maybe not doing all the activities, but just being surrounded by all the pumpkins. That is such a fun thing to do and really delightful. And I don't know how to explain it, but the season is full of feelings of comfiness and coziness, like and it also is just it's like a blanket being wrapped around you. I love that cold breeze that brushes through the trees, and you can smell the leaves and the trees, and you can feel the coldness kind of wrap around you, but it's also cozy. It's so hard to explain, and I hope you understand what I'm talking about. But it's really just a beautiful season. So I guess the basic way to get your fall starter pack started is by just being present in the moment and enjoying the fall season and just having fun and seeing what you can do for you during this season. If that's watching a fun movie or reading a fun book or just drinking out of a pumpkin cup every single day. Those are simple little things, and I think just a great way to just be in the season and enjoy the seasons as they come. So I've said seasons enough, I've said video enough, I've said autumnal season enough, but I really, really hope this list, this collection of things helps you. I had a blast making this video, and I really do hope you enjoy the season. I am excited to be making a video every week, hopefully every week, and just sharing this time and this experience with you. I think it'll be really, really fun, and I hope you guys are excited too. And I would love also what's in your fall starter pack. What's in like your emergency fall kit or your falling into fall kit. I would love to know what like is your quintessential things that you need at home to make you feel more autumnal. Maybe it would help other people if you write it in the comments below, just so that other people would get more ideas. Because of course I don't have all the ideas in my head. That's too many ideas. But maybe you have some things that other people would love to add into their list. I think a bucket list is probably one of the coolest things that you can do, and it's so easy. So I really thank you guys for being part of this channel and being here and just being part of the season. I really love sharing this season with others. If you're not subscribed, you should subscribe so you can be part of the season with everybody else on the channel, and we are going to really have fun. I'm really excited. We're going to read loads of books, and we're going to do loads of activities that are just fall, autumnal fall. So thank you so much. Make sure you like this video if you liked it, and if you didn't, thank you for sticking around this whole time. Well, that's pretty cool. And I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys next week. Until then, ciao!